Parle fort, parle fort.
We are from Crossgamers, a Swiss website, so we don't like to focus on the technical aspect too much, but I have one question.
Okay.
But mostly about the game, because we really liked Uncharted 2, we're absolutely fan. And so now I'm asking, is Uncharted 3 best or as good as? I mean, in my top 10 game list of all time, Uncharted 2 is number 4. Do I have to make a space for Uncharted 3?
Well, we definitely hope so. That's the case. I mean, to be frank, it is really difficult to top a game that came together and was received so well as Uncharted 2. I think when we came back to the studio, I know that there's a lot of high expectations to see how well we could pull off Uncharted 3 compared to Uncharted 2. But I think I think we had some really high expectations for ourselves to really find a way to progress the Uncharted games forward and just sort of even do better and go bigger and find a way to make the game just even more satisfying. And it's really hard when you look at it, but for us, we can look at the game really critically and notice a lot of things that we wanted to improve upon or that we would have wanted to change. So I'm hoping that once Uncharted 3 comes out, you're going to feel that way too.
So you're holding the Game of the Year 2011?
Well, I think this holiday is going to be really challenging, but I'd like to think that we're definitely a candidate for at least a few of those awards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we proclaimed that 2011 was the year of gaming, so maybe Uncharted 3 could be the game of gaming. So about the demo, it was really impressive, especially the lighting, but we found out some aliasing problem. Do you know about this? The aliasing, we call it.
We have changed the aliasing a little bit from game to game just to make it smoother. But at the end of the day, we've actually kept it relatively close to what it is. So what you saw in Uncharted 2, it's improved from Uncharted 2, but it's the same sort of underlying system.
Okay. And so the sand is really your focus for this episode.
I mean, for us, when we're looking at what to tackle technically, it really depends on what we want to approach visually, right? And aliasing is something that takes a lot of heavy processing power.
Yeah.
And you'll see, every game, you have to choose what to focus on, where to make the compromises, right? Some games might have really steady frame rate, but in other aspects, they have to compromise on their graphics. Other games will do really great particle effects. So for us, the rest of all the visuals are extremely important, and we felt it could hold up without having to sort of make sure that everything was completely smooth.
Yeah, and also that the problem in Uncharted 2 on my little screen was completely erased, but here on that big screen it appeared.
Well, pixels are a lot bigger up there.
Yeah. Are Drake and Elena gonna get together in the end? That looks like a spoiler.
That's the real question there. I mean, obviously they've had an on and off relationship for 2 games already, and it looks like they might be romantically involved again in the 3rd game. I think really when you look at what their relationship is like and sort of what we're exploring, it's when they're in the middle of an adventure, when they're in the middle of all these tough times, it really sort of brings them together and draws them together. But when they don't have all of this stuff happening in the past games, it's driven them apart. Drake's lifestyle is very different to what Elena's personality and what her morals are like. So I think we're going to explore a little bit more of what the relationship is like. But what happens, you'll have to play.
But no third wheel this time, no Chloe getting in the picture?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say he's a third wheel, but even though we're exploring Drake and Elena and their relationship a little bit here, the story really, or the character relationship story that we're focusing on, is between Richard Soul and Nathan Drake. So what you're going to see is you're really going to see what their relationship is like.
The bromance.
It's the bromance.
So the first game was a blonde, the second game was a brunette, and now it's a man.
We're a Swiss gamer community, so we have to ask, the first villain was Puerto Rican or something like this?
There are a couple different villains. I mean,
but the main.
Eddie Raja was from the Far East.
Yeah.
Navarro was Latin American, and Roman was, I don't remember what Roman was, but he was not from either of those countries.
And Lazarevich was from Eastern
Yeah,
Europe.
Eastern European background.
When will you have a Swiss villain?
Well,
The banker.
well, I mean, it's really interesting that you bring that up, though, because if you look at sort of where we are going with villains, the villain in Uncharted 3, Catherine Marlowe, she's more of a behind the scenes. She's not like a warlord like Lazarevich or somebody who really gets their hands dirty that way. It's someone who's a little bit more intellectual, who rules with power and influence. So there's definitely room in our games for someone who isn't necessarily a ruthless murderer, right?
We have ruthless murderers in Switzerland, don't worry.
That's not what I heard.
Well, our redactor-in-chief is one of them, but he's undercover.
When my mother lived here, like, she was talking about how she kept her doors unlocked and everything. Talked about how
In Switzerland?
Yes, in Switzerland. That was my time.
It's a different
That was more
Switzerland.
than 30 years ago.
I'm sure we can have an evil warlord to invade the world with chocolate.
I think
Not a bad thing.
that's the most interesting question. Is that the last Uncharted? Are you going to do a trilogy?
Well, it's never been planned that way. So the great thing for us is that we never had sort of a macro story arc of where the game's going to go, or if the game's 3 games or 4 games or 2 games or anything. We wanted to leave ourselves with the door open so that we could finish when we thought we couldn't tell any more stories in the Uncharted universe, or we felt we couldn't do anything interesting anymore, or we could continue for as long as we felt that way. And so that's partly why each game is a little self-contained. Each story, like if you played played the previous 2 games, while there's a continuation with the characters, there's not a direct line. So. You don't have to play the first game to know what's happening in the second game. And that tradition continues with Uncharted 3. So, I think we need to take some vacation and then figure out, if we feel that it can continue or not.
But we might hope for Uncharted 4.
The door is open.
Okay.
Or maybe some downloadable content for
We definitely have downloadable content planned.
but for multiplayer, but not for solo campaign.
Well, for single player, the issue is there's a couple things. First of all, anytime we try to think about single player DLC, and we're like, all right, well, this would be a cool story, and then someone else goes, well, we should do this into it. Next thing you know, we've got like a 6-hour, we've got almost a full game. So we might as well just make a full game instead of DLC, and that's kind of what the biggest problem we have is, because we're very ambitious, so it's really hard for us to have that type of constraint.
I have two more questions. What was striking me in the Uncharted, the second Uncharted, was that you have scenes that will live in gaming history forever. The train scene is legendary. My favorite is the urban warfare one. And so, what is your favorite scene in Uncharted 3 from what we've seen and what we can...
Of the ones that I can talk about,
Yeah.
because there's a few that I can't talk about. Of the ones I talk about, I think you've seen a little glimpse of the cruise ship, which we released footage of back in June, where you're in a cruise ship and it's starting to tip over. That entire sequence, the way it plays out, I think is really amazing. I mean, it's a combination of like the collapsing building plus the train, right? Like it's this big platform on a procedurally generated ocean that we're tipping at its side.
Okay, yeah.
So it's gonna
sensations.
I think it's gonna live as one of those moments in Uncharted 3 that people will talk about.
Okay. Let's hope to see. And finally, you have always a time where you have creepy creatures. First time there was those crawler things, and then you have blue Ohmamarocks in the second. Will you have strange extraterrestrial creatures in the third?
Well, how do we answer this question correctly? I mean, one of the things when when people talk about what we've done with all of that is we have to understand the genre that we're in. We're sort of in this action adventure genre that harkens back to a lot of the pulp action adventure, going back to stories from the 20s and 30s. It always had a little bit of mystical or an occult side to the things that are happening. It's about this sort of almost hidden, mysterious world where it's just this side of plausible, like it almost could happen. And you're seeing people reinterpret that in a contemporary way. Like Lost is a really great example, where there's these crazy things that shouldn't be happening, but are somewhat scientifically plausible if they're put in. And that's the idea that we've always toyed at. With how do we take what's the tradition in this genre and make it contemporary? I think when you play this game, not trying trying to spoil too much. I mean, there's a really great history with a lot of mystical aspects to the Middle East and sort of their mythology, and we're definitely going to come across that. But I think you're going to see that we really are leaning towards making sure that it does feel like whatever happens is a plausible result.
Okay, yeah. Especially in the first game, it was very strange when you get to see those people. And then when you see the Yeti in the Uncharted 2, you think, oh, maybe they went too far. And then there's an explanation that's quite plausible, and that's the fact that they are impossible to kill and very annoying. But so we can hope to get a little mystical and.
That's one of the hallmarks of the genre.
Okay.
We're definitely playing homage to that.
Okay, then.
I have a question. Sure. When are you bringing back Crash Bandicoot?
Well, we don't own Crash Bandicoot. Activision owns Crash Bandicoot.
You should put him in Uncharted.
As a cameo.
We could, but unfortunately we can't.
Yeah, I think it's scheduled, but you can't say it. We're gonna. Yeah, that was a great series. So, well, thank you. That was it. And
Thank you.
Thank you very much.